On this episode of Sauce and Hensch, Hensch has got a special guest star with him, and we'll be discussing the signing of Liam Hendriks to the Chicago White Sox and how this isn't your dad's Sox anymore. Up next on Sauce and Hensch. And welcome back to Sauce and Hensch. Sauce isn't here today, and I'm doing a White Sox talking podcast, and I'm trying to think, who should I have on? No better than the man, the myth, the legend. My father is going to be talking about the Chicago White Sox signing Liam Hendriks, and we're going to go into a little bit just how this White Sox team is not of old. The old Sox is no more. We have a new team that's spending $54 million on a closer. How about that, Dad?
I'm shocked. In the old years, Jerry Reinsdorf never spent any money on anybody, especially pitching.
Well, that ain't the case no more. He gave Rick Hahn the handles, and we're well off and running. Liam Hendriks is going to be coming in the ninth inning. That raging bulldog that we saw beat us in the last game, pitch, I think, 50-something pitches in the game 2, and then everybody's like, no way he's going to come in and close against us in the game 3. And sure enough, the jello arm came out and struck the side out against us. Well, you know what I like to say? If you can't beat them, sign them.
Absolutely. If you could have the players that you hate are the ones that you want on your team. And, you see a guy like that come in against us in the playoffs, and you're going, there ain't no way this guy's got any more. And he did. And just his energy, I think it's a perfect fit for Chicago.
It's awesome. I just remember back to, me and my dad had been waiting for us to make the playoffs for 10 years. It was 11 years.
It's been a long time.
And since 2008, you're waiting. And unfortunately, of course, the one time that they're in the playoffs, we couldn't watch it together. And we were watching it in separate places. And I just remember listening to Frank after he came in to close game 2, and Frank was like, both Chuck and Ozzie were like, there's no way, at least Hendriks got used. There's no way. And Frank does some research on the A's still since he played for him. And he said, that dude's a crazy Australian. Do not be surprised if he comes out and pitches tomorrow. And sure enough, and he came out, shut us down, struck out the side, and gave up a leadoff base hit to James McCann in that game, and then struck out the next 3 batters like it was nothing. And you sit there, and that's the kind of guy you want to hand the ball to. We were lucky enough to have good years of Colomé, but you want that guy that's just like, he doesn't care. Give me the ball, and I'll pitch 54 the day before and come in and throw 15 the next day and strike out the side.
Well, the one thing I will miss Colomé, because he was huge for us. He did have some questionable fielding issues at times, which, made my heart sink a couple times. I will miss the bill of the cap going one way. So if we can get Liam to wear the hat at least a little bit sideways, so we can kind of, morph into Colomé. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see that, it's not rebuilding anymore. We've got a team, and it's what can we build on to that team.
Exactly. You're looking for tiny pieces now to add to the formula, but that to keep on Hendriks, the other thing that excites me is, I love Colomé. Obviously, he had under a 1 ERA, which was really good. But I don't think fans who just see the under 1 ERA were like, why wouldn't you re-sign him? Those are the fans that didn't really watch every game to where he came in, and a lot of it wasn't as simple as what the stat shows of an under 1 ERA. Almost every time the dude's bases loaded situation, and you're scared because all he really has, he throws a 90 to 92 mile per hour fastball. And if the cutter isn't working that day, you better hope, I don't know, you just better hope they don't see his fastball well, because that's all he really had, as to where Hendriks has a power fastball and a great slider. So it's not really depending on one pitch as it was with Colomé, which is, I think, has to be one of the things that they were looking at, especially where we're at now. And basically with that signing, the Eaton signing and the Lynn trade, says we're trying to win in 2021 now.
Yeah, you're not kidding. We've got a lot of good pieces to this puzzle. And, there's going to be the people out there crying that we don't have the stud right fielder yet. But you know what? Adam Eaton is going to be
Adam Eaton.
And then you got the other Adam if they decide to platoon.
Yeah.
You got two great fielders, and you got guys with speed, and you got guys that'll make contact. So I'm
And that's
excited.
all they need to do, because you look at the rest of the lineup, however you want to put it together. I know we haven't, unless they plan on, as of right now, you think Andrew Vaughn's going to be that DH spot, unless we go out and get a Brantley or just a bat to fill in until he gets called up. But you look at the lineup and you have Timmy, Moncada, Abreu, that top four, Grandal, and all those guys up there, and Robert, and just like Eaton. You don't need that. You just
Don't
need
forget Aloy.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
You don't need Eaton to do anything crazy. And that you just need him to get on base and play a good right field. And and to keep talking about right field, I guess you can say, and you go out and sign another Cuban star again, and Cespedes' brother. So now you have Eaton as a stopgap for a year and right, and then hopefully he's ready by next year, and then you have an outfield of Jimenez, Robert, and Cespedes out there. But I mean, Hendriks coming to the Sox, that just shows you, man. I mean, you look at that bullpen now. I mean, we have three guys at the top of the rotation, and Giolito, Keuchel, and Lynn, who are all guys who are candidates to go 6+ every time they come out. But now you look at the bullpen, and you're like, you only really need to throw 5 innings, because you have a bullpen that consists of Evan Marshall, Cody Hoyer, Matt Foster, Garrett Crochet, Aaron Bummer, and Liam Hendriks, and Cordero, if you still want to talk about him. But I mean, so let's put a dream situation into play here. Let's have the new addition. So Lynn comes out and Lynn throws 6 innings. Okay, thanks, Lynn, because now we're going to hand it to Garrett Crochet throwing 101 at your face. And then we're going to hand it to Aaron Bummer with a 99-mile-per-hour sinker. And then we're going to hand it to Hendriks to close it down. You know what it reminds me a lot of, and what we saw a lot of years when we weren't that good, is the Kansas City Royals bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
When they won the World Series with Herrera and Holland and what's his name? Wade Davis. What's his name? Wade Davis, yeah. I mean, it was the same for them. Their pitchers only had to get to the 6th inning, and if they got to the 6th inning, you were as good as done. And I think that's the case with our bullpen. I was really scared that we were going to try to make a guy like Bummer, because all we were really linked to was Colomé and Hendriks, and if either of those guys went elsewhere, I was getting scared that we were going to hand it to
Brad
a guy.
Hand came into the fold here too. They were talking about him, and I was, when I saw his name up there, I'm like, please, dear God.
He fell off the past couple of years.
I don't. If they would have gone for him, I think they would have settled, because they couldn't get Hendriks, and then they would have made the mistake of, Colomé was like, well, if you're going to go after these guys, I'm going to go see what I can get.
Yeah.
And then you're left with Hand, and that would not have been.
Yeah, I was scared of either Hand or trying to put Bummer in a role that he's never been in his life in a year that you're trying to win the World Series.
Yeah.
Hey, he may be Hoyer may even be a closer sometime in his career, but you're going to put that guy, you come out and make a trade for Lance Lynn and sign Adam Eaton, saying, basically putting the flag in the ground that we're competing for a World Series, but then you're going to give a guy one of the toughest jobs in baseball, being a closer and having that mindset, and putting a guy in who's never been there before. So that's another reason I love this signing more than anything, because you have a guy who's established, that he's a closer. He knows what his job is, that every 9th inning, if it's a close ball game, I'm coming in and shutting it down. And there was an interview that I listened to. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it. There's a guy on Twitter. I'm sure the baseball fans have heard of him. His name's Pitching Ninja. You see him on Twitter every time. He had an interview with Liam Hendriks just a couple of days before he officially signed with the Sox on Monday night. And he was basically saying how he's talking about how he wants to win a ring really bad with whatever team he signs for, probably knowing at that time that he was signed for the Sox. And then the thing I loved him saying was, he was like, I come out to the mound, and he said he was an egotistic narcissist, to where he said that and said, I come out and I know nobody's better than me, and I'm just you can't hit me. And that's a guy you want to close for. Yeah.
Absolutely. You want somebody who thinks he's the best, because if you're questioning it, especially in that role, you don't want to be nervous going out there. You want to be able to overcome and take on whatever you're going to face.
And he's far from it. In this offseason, the Sox have gotten Lance Lynn, Adam Eaton. It's going to be announced here in a few days when the international signings are allowed to be signed. But there's 2 international guys, the big one being headlined by Cespedes, Yolke Cespedes. And then you go out and get the best reliever on the market and arguably the best closer in the game. I know on the Shredder on MLB Network the other night, just the night before we signed him, he was the number 1 reliever in the game, and his stats show it. So
go big or go home.
Exactly. Finally paying the money, which leads to our next topic that I want to talk about. Basically, just how in the intro we talked about how this isn't your dad's Sox anymore, and I got my dad right here, who's alluded to it during when he opened, saying that Jerry Reinsdorf has never spent money like this. And within the past few years, I feel like we've said it a lot. The Sox have never done this before. And you look at it from the start of this rebuild back in 2016, 2017, there was a lot of things that people said the Sox would never do, and the Sox have went out and done every single one of them.
They're opening the pocketbook, and I think Jerry's to the point where he knows how important it is to get another championship. He wants another championship. He had 6 with the Bulls. He's got 1 with the Sox, and the Sox was his first love. And I think that he wants to, he wants to get another ring. I mean, Jerry's getting up there in years. He wants to win another championship on the South Side. And it just seems like, we were talking about rebuilding here a few years ago, and now we're getting to that point where, hey, we're in the playoffs. We don't want it to be, hey, we're in the playoffs. Congratulations, we made it. We haven't been here in a long time. We need to be there, because that's what I grew up with. It was, oh, well, we're in the playoffs. It was 83, the first time I ever saw the Sox go to the postseason. Then it was 10 years later that they won again. And then it was 7 years later that they won again. And then they went 5 years later and won the World Series. And then you think, okay, hey, we're on the start of something. And then everything just fell off. After the 05 season, they went out and traded for Jim Thome and got rid of Aaron Rowan at the time, which I was not a big fan of. I felt Aaron was such a huge piece. Not that he's better than Jim Thome, but just, he was the center fielder, and I don't know. But you thought that, okay, we're going to get Thome, we're going to be better. But nothing happened. And then 08 was the next year. And then we were playing well. We really had, pitching was okay. It was kind of shaky. Then we go in the playoffs. We lose Carlos Quentin because he decides to punch his bat in a game against Cleveland. And then, we never got that consistency. And here we are for the first time. We finally decided to do something that we've never done before, which is break everything down and start from scratch.
And fill it with the right players.
Yes, not just, we need a third baseman. Let's go get Todd Frazier. We need
a starting pitcher.
Whatever.
Let's go get Jeff Samardzija.
Yeah, it's people that are cohesive, and it's about a team.
And that grew together, because a lot of those years you have, Sale, Abreu, Eaton, those guys were together for a while, and you had a foundation that started to grow, and then you add Frazier and LaRoche and guys like this and it's just not a team. There's no cohesiveness together, and you saw it was a train wreck, and that was so many years of, we're one piece away, and then one piece away from even being a contender, and then all of a sudden that one piece is filled, but it's just with a guy who's out of his prime. Mm-hmm. And the name sounds good, but the player isn't what he used to be anymore. And it was just felt like it was never going to end. And when there was rumors, and started from the beginning here, when there was rumors of Sox might tear it down and trade Chris Sale, you're sitting here thinking, or at least I was, and obviously you just heard my dad go through a recap of everything that he's been through. You sit here and you're like, no shot. And then, boom, Chris Sale's traded, headline Moncada and Kopech. Oh, wow, we just got the top prospect in baseball. Okay, but you sit here as a typical Sox fan, or typical Sox, or there's no way they blow it up all the way. Boom, a couple of days later, had Adam Eaton traded for Giolito, Lopez, Dunning, who, let's mention now that trade has turned Adam Eaton into Giolito, Lance Lynn, and hey, you got Adam Eaton back too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Rick Hahn swindled that. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe we're serious about tearing it down. Boom, Quintana moved, and you get 2 more headlines in Cease and Aloy. And now it's like Then Frazier was traded. Robertson was traded. He blew it all up. So that was the first thing. Like, wow, the Sox. We never thought the Sox would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they, while blowing it, first it was we never thought the Sox would blow it up. Second was we never thought the Sox would make a trade with the Cubs. That was something that I never understood as a Sox fan. I don't know if it was something that was built when
it's rarely happened. The biggest trade I can remember between the Sox and the Cubs was Sammy Sosa for George Bell, and at that time it was okay. We're just going to switch these two guys, but it was always, I don't know if it was kind of a gentlemanly thing where that nobody wanted to trade between Chicago teams. I don't know. I mean, it's happened before. You've had guys play for the Sox that have played for the Cubs, but rarely has there ever been a big trade to the magnitude of
and I think
Quintana.
I think that stopped the Cubs wanting to do that for a while because I don't think that worked out the best for them either. And then it was the same. Then after this whole rebuild was over, the whole Machado after we made those trades and the prospects started to develop and the other saying was the Sox never draft well. Well, look at three of the draft picks throughout the years that we suffered: Madrigal, Vaughn, Crochet. I would likely say that you already know in my opinion, you already hit on two of the three that you know for sure. Mm-hmm. Madrigal is going to be a solid second baseman for the next 10 plus years. And Crochet, God willing, no arm issues, is going to be insane with whether he be a bullpen or a starter. And from what I've seen from Vaughn in games, just watching him just in the summer training before they went to the 60-game season this year, Giolito flat out said that the two hardest batters that he faced were Vaughn and Madrigal. They were just a pain in his butt when he was facing them. And so the Sox were quoted for never drafting well. Well, we hit on, in my opinion, 3 out of the years that you're rebuilding. You had to hit on 3 top 11 draft picks, and you did. Mm-hmm. And then it was said after all that was, well, the Sox will never spend the money. And then it fed even more into it because we didn't get Machado that offseason. It was, well, see, the Sox didn't want to bump it up to $300 million like San Diego did. Well, boy, did we prove them wrong the next offseason, because then you go and ink the biggest contract in our franchise's history. You ink Grandal right away, 4 years, $74 million. And then there's another saying, the Sox in Reinsdorf, I never got this as well. They said it was a huge thing back in that offseason was the Sox will never do a deal with Boris. I don't know if that's something you know of with Jerry and his relationship with Boris, but that was a big thing that they talked about was the Sox won't touch Boris clients for some reason. Mm-hmm. And boom, we went against that and we signed Keuchel, who's a Boris free agent. So then you're like, well, the Sox have done 4 things just that we've talked about now that have went against. And like I said, it's not your dad's Sox. Like, it's just so exciting because all these trends of years and years that you think would never happen have put us in such a spot of success. And then you move now you're in the position to where we basically followed, I hate to say it, but we followed the blueprint of the Chicago Cubs. But because the Chicago Cubs built their young prospects up and then went and added what they needed. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. You sit through 4 years of suffering, 5 years of suffering of a rebuild. And then to see like the veterans that you're adding get mixed in with these young guys, it's just so exciting because you see the potential of it. But the one thing that I want to hit on that makes the Sox rebuild more successful than the Cubs is.
Oh, we're taking shots at Cubs in this podcast. Huh?
Oh, Sauce isn't on here, so I can take all the shots I want with him not on here. But the thing is he'll agree with it too. I know Sauce will. Is they had the chance, they didn't lock up their young guys before they won anything, and that's the big difference with the Sox, which has honestly given us financial flexibility. Because you look at it, I'll just give an example of a guy like Luis Robert. You sign this guy to an 8-year, $100 million contract. That's nothing because you signed him to an 8-year, $100 million contract. What if you would have waited like the Cubs did and he already showed that he's a Gold Glove player and showed what he can hit? He's a stud. So let's say you wait and don't give him that 8-year contract before he gets called up to the pros, and then you go and win a World Series and he's asking for 10 years, $300 million, and then you have no flexibility to go fill other holes and you have to pay him. That's exactly what happened to the Cubs.
Yep.
They were hand-tied. Well, we have to decide if we want to pay guys like Contreras and Baez and Bryant and them. And we can't, that in mind, you can't go and add anything to your team because you're worried about giving big contracts to those guys a couple of years down the road. Well, the Sox don't have to worry about that because we've already gave big contracts to Moncada, to Aloy and Robert, both before they even got called up to the team, had big contracts. And they're going to look like bargains down the road because we gave them that money before they were even a pro baseball player. And that gives you so much financial flexibility to be able to go and get the Keuchels, to get the Grandals, to get the Eatons, to go get the closer and Hendriks, to go make and then all the prospect capital also shows that we can go and make a move for a guy like Lance Lynn. And they've done it perfectly to where it's not like how you mentioned, we're just making the playoffs 1 year. We have all these guys locked up for so long that our core's around for the next, our window's basically open for the next 8 to 10 years.
I like it.
It's
exciting to talk about just what you think about it, and then you hear you talking about it and just what we have. And there's still going to be the person that thinks they're a Sox fan that you see on Twitter all the time, and all they are is trolls that are always taking shots like, hey, what's going to happen next? It could be a tweet that is so irrelevant to what is even going on, and there's somebody on there going, hey, what about DH? What about right fielder? What about pitcher? Those are the fans that you just want to win to spite. But they'll jump on the bandwagon so that they were there from the very beginning.
The other thing is people will say, well, we only have 3 starting pitchers now. Well, I sit here and look at, you just signed the guy that turned Giolito or you just made the pitching coach that turned Giolito into Giolito after having the worst ERA in baseball that season, and took him, made the things and turned him into that. Well, that same guy is working with guys named Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech. You could have a rotation of –
and Ronaldo.
Yeah, and Ronaldo. A rotation of Giolito, Keuchel, Lynn, and Cease and Kopech. And Kopech and Cease haven't even reached their full potential yet with this pitcher. I mean, I just listened to a podcast and listened to Dylan Cease talk about it today, how if I fix my fastball control, I don't see why I couldn't be at the top of the line rotation starter.
Yeah,
you could have 5 guys that are top of the line rotation starter. Cease showed it. He didn't even have – the thing about Cease is he didn't even have half as bad a season that Giolito had when he had to go and fix everything. Cease kept us in ball games. He just walked a lot of guys. If he can fix that, dude's a stud. And we already saw what Kopech can do in that short time. The dude's got a power fastball and a nasty slider. That's going to play if he can get it all figured out mentally and everything, which he will. I'm so glad we didn't let go of Kopech in any trades, because that would have been just stupid. One, because you wouldn't gotten nearly enough back for him because his value is low right now.
Right.
And 2, what if he turns into a stud after you traded him because you didn't really get to see him yet? But, I mean, if I was looking at the Sox team right now, if somebody asked me the other day, do you think the Sox need anything else before you go into the season? And I sit here, and obviously I'm not like other Sox fans where other Sox fans are just stupid and say, well, yeah, I want Trevor Bauer still. It's like, dude, that's not going to happen. But you have to be realistic about it. Would I like another starting pitcher just to give Kopech some time before he comes back? Yeah. And what comes to mind? A 1-year team-friendly contract to Jose Quintana for like $5 million.
Still think that's a possibility.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to pay him anything basically to come and be. If he pitch it, he can be a 4 or 5 starter. So you can get that. And what I like to, in a perfect world, I like to have a DH to fill until Vaughn can come up. Yeah. The perfect candidate for me got signed a couple days ago in Schwarber. I would have loved to thrown him a 1-year, $9 million contract and DH till whatever when, because he's on a contract to prove it. But
I think the thing about Schwarber is he still wants to play the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to a team like the Sox. You're not going out there. You're going to be our DH. And we've had that unfortunate story before where we try to bring somebody from the National League and like, hey, you're going to be our DH. Didn't work with LaRoche. Didn't work with Alonso, Manny Machado's cousin or whatever, brother-in-law or whatever he is, and then Adam Dunn. There's 3 examples right there from National League guys that came to the American League. We're going to put you at DH. Sounded good on paper, but when you actually make the move, I'm glad we stayed away from him, and you stay in the National League. And I still think Vaughn's the guy. I think he comes up, and realistically, he's going to bat 7th in this lineup. 7th in the lineup as a DH. You talk about all the pressure being off of you.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine. Let him play. You've got bats surrounding him. It's not going to be an issue. That's your DH. And I know everybody wants the big name. Everyone wants to, he's not proven yet. Give him some time.
If I could have everything that I wanted in the world, the perfect scenario for me would be really, obviously the Twins are sweating now with the signings and trades we've made. What would make them sweat even more is if somehow you could swindle over Nelson Cruz to come DH for us, man. And that would really stick it to them. Like, he ain't going to compete with us.
Did you hear that? I think they just crapped their pants.
Oh, man, that would be good. I mean, odds are it won't happen, but that would be insane if somehow you could get him to come to the Sox. But, I mean, I saw a tweet a few days ago that basically said, enjoy this Sox team, because if you really think about it, I mean, for the foreseeable future, this could be the best team in Sox history.
Take it from me. Enjoy it while it's happening, because you don't know if it's going to continue. And this is the first time since going back to the early 90s, in the years of Frank and Robin and Blackjack McDowell and Alex Fernandez and all those guys, when we should have won championships. And we thought that there was going to be this long stretch of success. You never know. And even though it was a 60-game season last year, these guys got a taste of the playoffs. The young pitchers that you would probably have never seen the light of day in a 162-game season, they've got experience now, and you just strengthen it with Liam Hendriks coming over. And I'm telling you, they are going to feed off of that dude's emotion.
Oh, man.
Feed. I would just love to be a fly in the wall in that bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
Just to hear what they're talking about in there. Like, well, I'm going in. It's going to be fun to watch this year. And I hope they get 162 games in, and, it's going to be a fun season.
Oh, man, no doubt about it. It's like he just said, and I try to sit here and enjoy it, because you're watching young careers of possibly best players in Sox history. Like, you look at a guy like Robert. I mean, the dude had 60 games last year, and you're sitting there with your jaw dropped every 10 seconds watching him. I mean, I've never, in my time watching the Sox, I've never seen a player that talented on the White Sox before.
I want to be able to be like the fans of the Yankees over the years.
Yeah.
You get to the All-Star game, and 6 or 7 guys are starting on the team. I want them to feel the pain of, hey, the Sox got 1 player in the All-Star game. This is awesome. Oh, we got 2 players, and then they get 1 at bat in the game, and they're done. Not that the All-Star game is something to build up to, but it's just the premise of the thing is, over the years, just seeing Yankees and Dodgers, and even the year that the Cubs had 7 starting players in the All-Star game.
And you look at our team, we realistically could have it with, you sit there and you're like, okay, Grindal, he's probably an all-star. Abreu, he's probably an all-star. Madrigal, he's probably going to bat over 300 easily again, all-star. Timmy, hands down, best shortstop in top 3 shortstop. I put him up there for best shortstop in the AL easily. And Moncada, all-star. Eloy, all-star. Robert, all-star. And then you go through your pitching rotation. Giolito, all-star. Keuchel, all-star. Lynn could be an all-star. And then your bullpen. And it's it's a
fun problem to have.
Yeah, Han, I can't give that man enough props. He literally, they had a blueprint of, okay, blow it up. We want this guy, and this guy. And I mean, people will always say, shut up, you'd rather have Machado, blah, blah, blah. Would I have liked to have Machado on the team? Yeah, of course. He's an all-star third baseman. Who
Hmm.
wouldn't want him on the team? But if we would have gave him $300 million,
We wouldn't be able to do
we
what we're
wouldn't.
doing now.
No, we wouldn't be able to give. You wouldn't be able to give Hendricks the contract we did. We wouldn't be able to sign Eloy, Luis, Moncada to long-term contracts. We wouldn't be able to go get Grandal and Keuchel in the same offseason. You're maybe talking about one or two of those things happening instead of all. I'd rather have 6 players signed than just Machado. And people always come at me and say I'm crazy, but I think the funniest thing and the most enjoyable thing to me is I still remember multiple times at my school being like, you just wait, the Sox are rebuilding, and hearing that famous phrase, you've been rebuilding since '05. And that's when you know you're talking to a fan that doesn't know anything about baseball, because a rebuild is not sucking. That's not a rebuild. A rebuild is when you trade, you literally put it all in, get rid of your best players, and go all in for it. And nobody's really, now people are sitting here like, wow, the White Sox are up there with the Yankees for the best team in the AL. Like, them and the Yankees are 1-2. And they're like, how did the White Sox get this good? And it's just like, we've been sitting here for years telling you what's all sitting in the minor league system and all the cash that we're sitting on top of, because we were literally paying no one for those 4 years. And now you see it, shoveling out $54 million to a closer in a time where nobody else can come up with any money besides the Padres. And it's fun to see, because I think you're going to see a lot of Padres Sox World Series in the next few
Yeah, I think
years.
you're right. And it's
I
going to be, oh, there's Manny Machado on the team that you could have played for, and Fernando Tatis with the
Yeah,
team that drafted him.
yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be
yeah. I feel
be
like
fun.
you're going to see a lot of, if everything goes as planned for the Sox and we reach, because Han has said the goal isn't just to have one parade, it's multiple parades, and he's also said, talk to me at the parade, all those famous quotes that Rick Hahn is famous for now that he said throughout this rebuild. But that's one of them, is we don't want just one, we want multiple. And if that really realistically comes into fruition, I'd see multiple of, like, in my head I envision the Warriors Cavs final 3 straight years of, all right,
Padres
well, it's the
Sox.
Padres and Sox again, and it's the Padres and Sox again, and who gets who in the offseason, and basically the main cores going against each other, and Tatis and all their young guys, and all our young guys, and Mancada and Robert, and it'll be fun. It'll be very fun to watch. And I just very exciting. And Dad came in and told me that news about Hendricks last night, and just like, wow. And the details on it was, it's a 4-year contract for $54 million. If you're wondering, the fourth year, we pay him no matter what, but the fourth year is a team option. So realistically, we could have him for 3 years, and if we don't want him for that fourth year, we still have to pay him, but it's over a long period of time that we pay him back for that fourth year, and we can let him go. So it's a team option, but he's still getting $54 million no matter what.
Right.
So I'd look at it as 4 years, $54 million. It could be 3 years, $54 million, but I mean, that shows you they're serious, man. Like, some Sox fans were even saying that's too much, blah blah blah. And I'm like, he's the best reliever in baseball. You'd be complaining. They would be the same people complaining if it came out that the Blue Jays would have signed him for 74 or 54 million, and the Sox got beat out by 10 million or something. They'd be like, well, why did the Sox have enough to give him that? Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And it's like,
You got it.
it's annoying.
You're not real fans.
Yes, it's annoying, but like Dad said, they're going to be the same ones that are going to be buying all the World Series merchandise when it comes here. But
these are the same people that go into a store to buy a TV, and they don't have enough money to get a big screen TV, but they settle for something less. And people, oh, I didn't have enough money for the big screen. But wait a second, you're doing the same thing to Reinsdorf. So something like that. Anyway,
it's a great time to be a White Sox fan. I tell you that. There's really nothing that, I mean, the best thing about it is, realistically, there's really nothing that Cubs fans can say to us right now.
I've never heard Liam Hendriks talk. Have you? Have you heard him talk? He said he's Australian.
He has an Australian accent.
Like a day, like another shrimp on the bobby.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what, mate. But oh man, he's gonna be.
Just keep that ERA down under.
I know Vinny Duber from the Sox was on CSN or whatever. on NBC Chicago, he was saying that he has to walk out to a Jimi Hendrix song. I don't know what Hendrix song it's going to be, but Duper was saying that he's going to ask him that in the press conference on Zoom or whatever. Instead of wording it, are you going to choose a Hendrix? He said he's going to word it as, which Hendrix song are you going to choose? Because he has to. But God willing that we can be at G-rate and watch this, because how bad would it suck? I mean, it would still be nice to watch the Sox. I mean, it was nice to watch them go to the playoffs, but God, it sucked struggling through 4 or 5 years of a rebuild, not being able to, and going to the stadium of 1,000 people being there and us watching a crappy White Sox game just because Moncada's there and being like, okay, well, we're really only here to watch Abreu and Moncada bat, and then when another guy gets called up, well, we're here to watch 3 at-bats and then 4 at-bats, and now it's like 1 through 9, and of course we can't be at the stadium when it's 1 through 9, you know. We were there when Jose Rondon is freaking DHing in the lineup. God.
Oh, that was stellar. I would love those moments.
I love going to the stadium and seeing Sox fans will know. You see the frames up on the board of who's starting that day, and you're like, all right, 1, 2. That's pretty good. 3. Jose Rondon. All right, that's good. And who else do we got up there? I don't even know half the names that we had. They just terrible names that sat up there. All right, Jose Rondon in the 4 spot. Oh, that's good, guys.
That'll win you some ball games right there.
Oh, gee. But that's no longer. Now 1 through 9, the pitcher's sitting there. Who do I throw to? I can't walk this guy because next guy is just as good.
It's a nice problem to have.
But, man, I hope you enjoyed the special guest and my father being on here. No better person I'd rather have on here talking White Sox baseball than that. Me and Sauce will be back at it. We have we got some fun podcasts coming up these next few days. Our next one is about me and Sauce's top 5 underrated players in the NBA, and then we got a real special one coming for our next one that's super fun. I'll not hint or give you any hints. You'll just have to check it out.
A tease. I like it.
But we got some fun stuff lined up for you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Liam Hendriks to the Sox, 4 years, $54 million. South Side.
Good day.
You watch out, people, because the South Side is here, and we own Chicago now, Sauce.